It's time to open the treasure house. Good morning, kids. Come on in. Put the keys away when the music stops. And talking about Captain Kangaroo a little bit today. I was so thrilled when I saw everybody's reaction to the teaser about Captain Kangaroo and how he was going to be related to the Beatles collection room today. And just a snapshot of our memories there. If you were a kid in the last 80 years, it seems like Captain Kangaroo came on TV in 1957, and I was 3. Perfect time as a infant child to be exposed to the world that Captain Kangaroo was presenting to us. It wasn't, I loved all the funny comedy skits that they were doing with Dancing Bear and the puppets, Bunny Rabbit and Mr. Moose, and the craziness that Mr. Green Jeans would bring into it. He was not Frank Zappa's father, to clear that rumor up right there, but the fun that the captain brought into the show, also the variety that he brought into the show. There was all kinds of acts on there, literally the miniature Ed Sullivan Show, jugglers and entertainers of all kinds. The travel logs, Captain would take us on voyages to foreign lands that we'd never dreamed about seeing, India and Egypt and Africa and all those strange exotic places that we would hope to learn about one day. But my favorite part of the captain's show was when he would say, "Now time to get out your construction paper and your paste and your round edge scissors, and we're going to make something." And even on the captain's albums, they had places where you could cut out little pieces and make a little animal carousel off of the back of the album cover. But that just, I hope, inspired the imagination of kids, and I know it inspired my imagination. And when that was 1957, a few years later, when 1964 and the British invasion occurred, the inspiration from the captain maybe to go for things like coloring books. And the Beatles had a coloring book that was just so beautiful, detail line drawings that you could color in. This is my coloring book from my original collection. My mom had put this away from me when I was 10 years, after I was 10 years old, colored this. Beautiful, beautiful coloring pages through here. John and George, these pictures came from the bubblegum cards. If you remember a few episodes ago, we looked at all the bubblegum cards, group shots to color in, just some really, really nice artistic type of coloring for kids to be able to do. They had this coloring book had actual real photos from Hard Day's Night and some other scenes in the coloring book. And coloring books were really popular at that time for children, and there such a variety of coloring books, everything from celebrities and pop culture to just standard things like flowers and art scenes. My favorite pages in the coloring book were, of course, obviously, the memorabilia pages, the hats and the badges. That badge that's pictured there, right, a real one right there from my collection, and bags and guitars and pennants that are all around here. Ooh, the infamous loot tray. Still haven't added one of those to my collection, but the coloring book was one of the hopefully the artistic inspirations, things to do with your hands, things to get that artistic side juices flowing, things like the models of the Beatles that you could make out of little bits and pieces of the Beatles, like a model car, a model boat, or a model plane. One of the most beautiful pieces of arts and crafts type stuff within the Beatles collecting world would have been, oh yes, the some of the puzzles. Thanks. More things to do with your hands. They put out 4 different varieties of jigsaw puzzles. All of the Beatles on stage at the Cavern, on stage possibly Ed Sullivan Show, and just posing with the instruments. There were 4 different varieties of the puzzles made there, and couple of finished versions of those. We've got one with just a Paul. I think this one came from the fan club. Hope you can see the puzzle pieces in the frame like that. like I said, the most beautiful and elaborate pieces of arts and crafts type things for Beatle fans to enjoy would have been the paint by numbers set. Paint your own Beatle. Each Beatle has his own paint your own Beatle paint by numbers set, and they all came in a nice box like this with selection of colored paints, numbered to go with your drawing suggestions, some art brushes, a guide print to go by, and the paint by number canvas, or more of a cardboard type canvas. It has a canvas feel on the front, but cardboard backing. You can see the detail in there where you can see each little shade in the portrait yields a different shadowing or different effect on the piece of art when you get finished. You'd see a couple over here that got a Ringo. I found a Ringo in partially finished condition here. You can still see the numbers in the background, the detail on there, and a completely finished Paul. Good job on the autograph they did there. But one of my favorite types of arts and crafts Beatle memorabilia were the punch-out books. I enjoyed punch-out books of all sorts. I told you a few shows ago about the what were you saying? Put that up there. Oh, say what? Oh yeah. These usually live over here in this shelf. And that brings me over here to the punch-out books, which is my favorite type of thing. I always enjoyed punch-out books in any variety. I told you a few weeks ago about my grandfather taking me on the weekly visit to the newsstands, and we would always look for punch-out books as well for anything like circuses and rodeos, frontier forts, television shows. I had the Man from U.N.C.L.E. punch-out book. Top Cat punch-out book was a fun one. Huckleberry Hound, all those. But when the Beatles came along, oh, that was the best one. The punch-out book for the Beatles gave you little cutout portraits that became frames, and I've got some finished ones up here over the windows. You can see how they make a 3D version of a frame to go on the wall for a hanging. And they also had, well, each Beatle had his own. These are kind of delicate, so I don't want to tear those too much. They had a mobile on the back where you can make these hangers and the little figurines to hang from the hangers in a mobile artistic approach, and a set of figures that were able to punch out and create a little bandstand here and put them in front of the stage that would have folded down to create a stage for the Beatles to play on. This one's never been folded, so I haven't folded that one itself. But what you can do when you pull those out, as awkward and unusual as their arms and legs look on the before you cut them out and put them together, you can see what the results are right down here with a very, very three-dimensional stage setup for the Beatles like that. This is one area where I think they kind of missed some of the arts and crafts manufacturers missed the boat a little bit by not producing more of this type of thing. One big missing link here would be with the Beatles Paint Your Own Beatles set. Why didn't they have a group photo of all four of those? There was only the individual portraits manufactured. And with the punch-out books, there were several other types of things like the sticker fun books, if you remember the sticker fun books, and activity boxes like this flipper activity box that's part of the peripheral collection, but put these little stickers to make scenes and things like that. So that's a couple of places where I think the guys that manufactured the Beatles memorabilia missed an opportunity, but it might have been because these were more directed toward the true children, and by 65, 66, I think maybe the Beatles were trying to target the teen market at least instead of the kiddie market like that. So that's just kind of a little bit of a touch of what I should say, the arts and crafts, or hopefully the Captain Kangaroo inspiration getting your creative juices flowing. I found this picture of the captain from 1970, and what that picture is doing, it's promoting the use of seat belts. If you look very closely there, Bunny Rabbit is explaining to the captain, I believe, exactly how to fasten your seat belt correctly and showing people the correct behavior when if you were around in 1970 having to wear your seatbelt, that was a big change. That was a big deal, and it was an inconvenience, and it was nobody was saying that it was going to be worth it or not, but the number of lives it had saved, etc., etc., over the last 50 years now, things seems like they're going in the wrong direction in a lot of ways around here. We're in Florida. I don't know if you know that or not. We just found out that someone just down the street actually tested positive for the virus in the last little while, and they're in the hospital, and we're not thinking that things are going the right way. So if the captain was around to tell us what to do, I believe he would say is wear the damn mask and be considerate of others out there, and hope you've enjoyed this little look at the captain, and we'll say what the captain always said: have a good day. So peace and love, science. Have a good day.